Well, hi. Today we're going to talk about analysis and research. We're going to answer or try to answer some of your questions while you are beginning to write your responses in the Disciplines and Discourse course. So we're going to try to answer some questions today. What is analysis? What is the research process? How do we teach analysis in the research process? And what techniques can we use to improve student performance or your writing performance in these areas? Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is what analysis is not. Analysis is not personal opinion. Now, why isn't it personal opinion? Well, a personal belief or an opinion is a personal belief or judgment that is not founded on certainty or proof and is offered by non-professionals. Now, if you go into a dentist office or a doctor's office or a lawyer's office, they're going to ask you for their professional opinion. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about reacting to situations and ideas in an emotional manner via personal opinion, which you should not do. Analysis is also not a summary of facts or nicely arranged raw data. Sometimes students think that summaries are analysis, and they're not. Summaries are simply putting into your own words somebody else's thoughts. Analysis is also not fortune telling. Forecasting, it is forecasting, however. And what is forecasting? Well, forecasting offers an estimation of likely outcomes based upon factual circumstances. So you look at your evidence and you say, well, this happened 10 years ago, it's happening now, and so what is likely to happen in the future? What else? Analysis is, however, an examination of complex information to discover what has happened or is about to happen, what it means, and what should be done about it. So analysis considers the facts and shows what these facts indicate. Thinking and reasoning processes involved in making judgment. So analysis is when you separate the problem into components so that complex issues are reduced to their simplest terms. Analysis is also a process of characterizing and categorizing known facts and finding patterns and discrepancies. Analysis is also a process of establishing future probabilities based on logical outcomes. If you see a cow go into the field Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, what are the probability or the likelihood that that cow is going to go in on Friday at 2 o'clock? So it's the process of discovering future actions and reactions within theoretical outcomes by participating entities. So what is the analytic process? Well, first of all, we have to define the problem, determine information needs and gather information, evaluate your sources. Are they reliable or not? Generate hypotheses based upon our source evidence, and evaluate and test alternative hypotheses. Now I've developed a series, or the research and analytic process. It was in my book, Writers Crossing Boundaries. And I have this in a series of steps or stairs. It's kind of a 12-step program to writing the research paper. So stair one, basically, I'm going to go through this kind of quickly for you. Stair one is first you select and evaluate the sources after you've determined and narrowed down your focus topic. And As you're doing this and as you're reading your sources, you want to recall patterns that relate factors to broader concepts. And you also want to evaluate the reliability of your sources. So Step 2, you're going to conduct the interview. Sometimes students forget at a university, when you're writing a research paper on a particular topic, try to find out who's the expert in that field at the university and prepare a series of questions and go to the professor or the expert on campus and interview them. And that is called a human source, human intelligence source, which is very reliable, particularly if that person is an expert in his or her field. So Step 3, beginning analysis. What we want to do is process the information, organize the information, and cluster the information. Perhaps create a broad headline under which you can plug in all the different types of information from your sources that you have gathered. After you do that, look for emerging patterns in your evidence. Are there sources that are contradictory? And try to create a new analytic reality without bias. Step 4, directing analysis. This is when this is an exercise in clustering, and there's a great exercise to do in divergent convergent thinking. You can divide into teams and develop data and source clusters on information that's already known. Now, you all must be presented, students must be presented with a problem to solve. So what are the logical connections between what evidence the writer-analyst gathered and what information is disposed of, either because it doesn't make sense or it derives from a biased source? Step 5 is when you just begin formulating your thesis. Do not ever try to formulate a thesis hypothesis at the very beginning of your research process. That's ridiculous. You don't know what you have till you have it. So you must get all of the information, all of your source evidence, and process it first. Step 6 is when you continue writing your summaries, add your analysis. Step 7, writing your analytic headers, where you can sift analysis and facts into logical sections that you've created in your research paper. And then at this stage, I like to have my students conduct alternative hypothesis testing, which I won't go on to in this video today. Step 8 is synthesizing, establishing patterns and predictabilities. It's when basically you organize all of your information, all of your source evidence summaries, and the analysis into themes. Step 9 is integrating graphics. Now, only select those graphics that are going to enhance your text. The research process continues with Step 10, which is forecasting. What do you see in the future regarding this problem or controversy that you're writing about? How will your assessment affect our nation, our country, or our community, our local community, for good or for ill? How will this problem or solution affect the local, national, or international community? And why should we care what happens? Step 11 is when you coordinate with others. That is your peer review. And then Step 12 is your capstone. That is when you're going to give a briefing. So I know that this was a very, very kind of rushed thing on integrative analysis and the research process. So I will continue these series of videos in the future. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.